Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio. So today, I am showing you a ridiculous Zebstrika card. Now, bear in mind, I have just uploaded a video about Ditto Prism Star, and Ditto Prism Star is really, really good. Zebstrika is better. That's right, it's that gosh darned good. If anyone's wondering why these videos are later than they should be today, it's because the father-in-law and I had to go pick up an Aga. If you don't know what an Aga is, it's basically like a cooker, and by pick up, it weighs 3/4 of a ton. So picking up an Aga means driving out in a big van, spending 3 hours taking it apart piece by piece, and loading it into a van. And that was after working all day. And I'm still bringing you the Pokemon news. Zebstrika is awesome. Now, it is a lightning Pokemon, and being a lightning Pokemon kind of sucks, to be honest, because it means it's weak to fighting. And that is a big problem because Buzzwole is here to stay. The good news is that generally speaking, post-rotation, they'll have Diancie Prism Star, which means they'll be hitting 100 with Jet Punch with weakness, and you've got 110 HP, which is low. I mean, it is really low, because Tapu Koko's got the same HP as a basic, but you know what? It can survive a Jet Punch from Buzzwole with a Diancie Prism Star on the field, so actually that's alright by me. Retreat cost of 1 is quite nice because you have got Escape Board post-rotation, and this will have free retreat with Escape Board, and it has got a resistance to metal, which is quite nice because of Registeel, and the new Solgaleo GX, which is coming out in September, is really good. And it hits 120 for a double colourless energy, which with resistance brings it down to 100, and you will actually survive that. So that's kind of nice. And remember that being a lightning Pokemon is really good nowadays, because you've got Thunder Mountain, which reduces your attack cost by 1 lightning, and you've got Electro Power, which means you can do an extra 30 for all of your attacks. Both of those are going to be very, very useful, and there is a decent attack here. But really, primarily here, it is all about the ability. Once during your turn, you may discard your hand and draw 4 cards. This is over the top good. I should also mention our translation comes from the lovely David Hochmann, Mr. RappelmannTCG himself, who is a lovely, lovely man. This is an over the top great ability, which is going to see a huge amount of play here, ladies and gentlemen. A huge amount of play. We are losing Octillery when the rotation hits. And that is our general stage 1 Pokemon draw at the moment. Octillery draws until you've got 5 cards in your hand, and it sees play in an awful lot of decks because, quite frankly, it's the best draw we've got. Zebstrika here is arguably better. Now, we'll get into the nitty-gritty in a moment, but let's say for argument's sake, you are just desperate to draw that double colourless energy in order to win the game. Well, you've got to have 1 card in your hand in order to draw 4 with Octillery. Zebstrika will just get you 4 new cards. If you are desperately digging for that last card, Zebstrika has got your back, ladies and gentlemen, and it stacks. So that's not to say you can do this once per turn. You can discard your hand, draw 4 cards, play whichever ones you want, and if you've got a second Zebstrika, discard your hand, draw 4 cards, and so on and so forth. It is going to make decks a lot faster. I mean, Zoroark discards 1 card and draws 2. Imagine if you can get down to a 0-card hand here. Because if you can get down to a 0-card hand, then this is an ability that just draws 4 cards. Now you've got to discard your hand. We'll get onto that in a minute, but drawing 4 cards is brilliant. Oh no, wait, we'll get onto it now. We're all used to discarding our hand to draw cards. We've been doing it with Professor Sycamore. Well, we've actually been doing it with Professor Juniper before that, right back from the black and white base many, many years ago. We're all used to discarding our hand. It's not going to be a big issue. Because you've always got the option here. If you don't want to discard your hand, don't discard your hand. But what you could do here is discard, draw a new 4, and then play Cynthia. Or if you've got a hand you really don't want to discard, maybe you play Cynthia, and then you play out that hand. Discard it and draw 4 more cards. Or maybe you don't want to discard your hand, so you Cynthia, and then you've got another hand you don't want to discard. So don't. Just play Cynthia. With Professor Sycamore rotating, this is the natural replacement. And let's be clear, Professor Sycamore was good for drawing 7 new cards, but Professor Sycamore wasn't just good for drawing cards. Professor Sycamore saw a whole bunch of play for the discarding, because there are a whole bunch of decks that want to discard. Take Malamar decks. They want to have Psychic Energy in the discard to accelerate with Malamar's ability. Now, admittedly, they've got Mysterious Treasure, but this won't hurt. Aqua Patch decks want to get Water Energy in the discard, so they can use Aqua Patch. And alright, they've got Crash Awake, and they've got Volcanian Prism Star. And weirdly, I've mentioned that in both my videos today, which I did not see coming. But this is still going to be a handy little bonus as well. And, I mean, Rayquaza really is an obvious one. It uses Latias Prism Star as a starter in that deck, which accelerates 1 basic energy from your discard to each of your benched basic Dragon Pokemon. But you've got to have the energy in the discard first. Zebstrika is going to make sure that you've got it there. Rayquaza's ability discards the top 3 cards of your deck and then attaches an energy from your discard. Now, Rayquaza is blind discard. You don't know what you're discarding, so it's not always completely advisable, and it is a choice. You don't have to do the discarding. You don't have to use the ability. But here, you can at least guarantee that there's an energy in the discard, so even if you discard stuff you don't want to with Rayquaza, you still get the guaranteed energy acceleration. And we've been talking a lot over the past couple months. What are we going to do post-rotation? When Professor Sycamore rotates, and N rotates, and Octillery rotates, what are our deck engines going to be? What are we going to be using? Well, we've still got Cynthia. Tate and Liza comes around. Okay, it's basically a Shauna, but it'll do for now until we get something better. And then we've got Zebstrika. And between those 3 cards, our draw engines are going to be absolutely fine. This ability is going to see play in a whole heap of decks, just for the added consistency like Octillery has. And any deck that really wants to discard a bunch of Pokemon, or energy, or supporters, or whatever, needs to play this. Put bluntly, this is going to see a huge amount of play for the ability. Now, there is an attack here as well, and it's actually kind of useful. No translation needed, it's lightning, colourless, and it does 60 damage. But you know what? That's pretty nice, because we've got counter energy. Counter energy means 1 energy attachment, and all of a sudden you're doing 60 damage. Now, that sounds quite nice, but we can do better. Because we've actually here got Thunder Mountain. And Thunder Mountain is a great little stadium card that reduces the energy cost for lightning Pokemon by 1 lightning, as I mentioned earlier, which means that with Thunder Mountain, this actually attacks for a colourless energy. But wait! It gets better. Because we've got Counter Gain, a tool that you attach, and it reduces the attack cost, as long as you're behind on prizes, by 1 colourless energy. So if you get Counter Gain and Thunder Mountain, this actually attacks for free. Now, annoyingly, it doesn't actually quite do enough damage. With a Choice Band, it does 180 for an EX or a GX for weakness. And the biggest one here is Ho-Oh that has 190. Now we are getting Forbidden Shrine coming out, which will put 1 damage counter on each EX and GX between turns, which will get the KO on Ho-Oh. But let's not forget Electro Power. Your lightning Pokemon do an extra 30. This will help you hit the numbers. Empoleon's got 160 and this does 120, but again, single Electro Power, you get the KO. Anytime this attack isn't quite doing enough damage, you can fix it with Electro Power. And that is wonderful. This attack is really good and really useful, and because of the combination of Thunder Mountain and Counter Energy, I do expect it to see a fair amount of attacking, because it hits for a nice weakness. But let's be clear, this is all about the ability. This is one of those Pokemon that you look at it and go, well, yeah, it's going to see play in almost everything. Because why would it not see play in almost everything? It's got the discarding, and it's got the draw power. Sometimes you're not going to be able to discard your hand because you're going to have resources in there that you're not willing to part with. Otherwise, it's basically better than Octillery. And Octillery has seen a huge amount of play over the past format. Now, to be fair, Octillery had Brookclear Hill, but this is going to see a huge amount of play. I am absolutely certain. It's a 5 Wassy card. I mean, to be honest, it's not really a 5 Wassy card. 5 Wassies does not do this justice. But I'll tell you what, for the time being, we'll give it 5 Wassies because we don't have anything better. But I'm done gushing over this card now, so maybe you want to gush over it. Maybe you want to tell me it's not as good as I think it is. We can have an argument, but let's make it friendly in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter or the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. And do check out my video game /Dragon Ball Super channel, Wassy Plays, for some more Wassy action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.